Good morning, good morning, good morning, Terri Young Powell, and welcome to Destination Loading. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well, and thanks for inviting me to your podcast.
Oh, you're very welcome. So, before we get into it, y'all, let me tell you who we have with us today. So we have Miss Terri Young Powell. She was formerly crowned Miss United Negro College Fund at Miles College. She's an accomplished professional with over 10 years of accounting experience. She's worked in government, nonprofit, and healthcare industries, earned her BS in accounting, as well as a master's degree in accounting with a concentration on forensic accounting. Okay, that's not all. So now, during her career, Terri has been a member of the following organizations: American Institute of CPAs, the National Association of Black Accountants, and Certified Fraud Examiners. As if that wasn't enough, she's also committed to community service. She actively volunteers with the Youth Leadership Forum of Birmingham, the United Way Visiting Allocation Team, and the Court Appointed Special Advocates. Terri is also a member of the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Alabama, Junior Board, and the chartering treasurer for the National Coalition of 100 Black Women of Central Alabama, currently a member of the Junior League of Birmingham, and she is a data analyst chair for the year 2023 and 24. She is an active member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, where she is the protocol risk management and advocate for social justice committees. Terri. Terri is also a member of the first cohort of Glenda Glover's Leadership Institute for the Southeastern region of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and she is a graduate of the City of Birmingham's Rising Star Leadership Program. My goodness, lady, you are equally amazing as you are beautiful. How do you make time to do all of this?
Thank you. It's very difficult, especially now being a single mother, and I want to make sure I'm available for my son. But I have a deep drive and passion. I think that's unmatched. So that keeps me motivated in striving for better things and learning new things.
So, you mentioned that you are a single mother now. So, is dating different for you now
Uh,
uh, than it was previously when you were single? And if so, how do you establish boundaries and maintain godly principles?
So it's very different. I didn't get married until I was 32. And so prior to that, I didn't have any children. So it was
Mhm.
easy to date. I meet somebody, hey, you want to go out to dinner Thursday night? Fine. I get in my car, go, and come on back home. But now, since I have a son, I have to get a babysitter, and I want to make sure I don't spend too much of time away from him
Mhm.
trying to build a relationship because it takes time to really build a trustworthy relationship. And then I have to be careful who I introduce to my child.
That's right.
So it's just totally different, trying to navigate because I not only need someone that's right for me, but I need someone that's going to be right for him as well, that's going to teach him godly principles and really how to be a man and to navigate, in the society that we live in. So it's been pretty tough.
Uh, yeah. And so I think the audience need to understand how Terri and I arrived at this conversation. So it about dating, right? On I think it was. Let me go to it. You posted on October 30th. You clearly you was trying to bless somebody because you said you started off knowing that it was going to be an unpopular opinion, and you said women stop having sex with men that are not your husband. That got all of my attention. um and so then you went on to say, I won't read all of it, but you shared um, a conversation with that you had had for years with a male friend of yours, and he recently shared with you how a particular woman professional woman is dating somebody, and she thinks that he really likes her,
Mhm.
but and she compromised herself a bit and made, I think, videos or sent him some pictures,
Mhm.
and that information is just being shared with this all these guys, right? And then the impact of that, you talked about how it's kind of like a double standard for men and women.
Mhm.
They if Because once a man puts his mouth on a woman in that way and share their experience with her with other men, it's almost like they label her as damaged goods, and
Mhm.
so then she becomes ostracized while this guy gets, some new notches in his belt and a pat on the back. So
Mhm.
like talk about that a little bit.
So okay. So this has been something I think that's been going around for years. Women sending pictures to men or videos, however, as we stated, thinking that the guy likes me and I want to let him know like we're not together. This is what I got on or what's going on or whatever. And he has put her in a category where he doesn't expect to be serious with her at all. But he's not letting her know that. He's giving her
Mhm.
whatever information she needs so she can keep sending these pictures, and then he's sharing them with his friends, and laughing at her behind her back. And the
Mhm.
sad thing is, as I stated, that these guys will know this and they may see her out in public or wherever, and then they'll try to talk to her knowing that this guy's already shared this intimate stuff about her, and they'll go trying to get the same thing. So it's very unfortunate the way men act, especially being adults, because I would maybe expect that from someone 21, 22, but it's men in their 30s, 40s, almost 50s still doing, and professional men, educated men, just doing these types of things. And I just don't understand the purpose behind it. I don't know if they need validation from other men for whatever reason. I don't know if their fathers weren't in their lives. Like, I don't know. I don't
Mhm.
know why they do it. I'm not a man. I hadn't gotten to the root of that yet. But
Mhm.
it just seems to be a common practice amongst men. And let me say this. When I say men, I don't mean all men. Let me say that, because all men and all women, aren't a certain thing. So we
Right.
clarify that. But amongst a lot of men, this seems to be the acceptable behavior that they have. So,
you know, and I also want to be clear that I'm not judging
me
um,
either.
the young lady, because um, I know that I haven't always been the woman that I am today,
Right.
and I have made some bad choices intimately,
Mm-hmm.
um, and and I think some of this really we need to understand. You referenced the root cause, right? I think for me personally, as I've gotten older and I reflected,
Mm-hmm.
um, it was trauma, past trauma,
Mm-hmm.
that things I shouldn't have been exposed to as a child,
Mm-hmm.
um, being having intercourse being forced on me. You kind of, and you don't really deal with it. You just accept it and hate. And you have to live with that experience. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think sometimes, because those type of things have happened to us as women or as men, we make bad decisions
Mm-hmm.
because we're going back to that situation,
Right.
and that situation makes us feel like it was okay.
Yes.
And so, and I can say that because I too am divorced, as you know, but I've practiced celibacy for a long time. We're gonna say 4 or 5 years, I know for certain.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and people think, I've had men say to me, and I'm sure they say to you, "Oh, you can't be kidding me. I mean, you look like you look, you carry yourself like I know." Well, no, because it's about self control and discipline.
Mm-hmm.
After you have had that experience where you've made those wrong choices, is it is easy for me to lean into my faith to not fall victim to my flesh. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you posted that, I was like, oh my God, you're not a minister, right? But you're a Christian. And
Mm-hmm.
for that to come from a single woman who doesn't carry that title was powerful to me.
Yes. And let me say this. I'm glad you mentioned the judging thing because I don't want people to think I'm judging either. Because, like you said, I've made some poor choices before. And I was hoping that the post, even if it helped one person, just keep somebody else from making
Right.
mistakes I've made
Mm-hmm.
related to whatever. Just try to save yourself because it's really not good, out here.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't know. I've heard guys hoard the pictures, so you may be dealing with them in that moment, but 10 years later they still have it and all of that stuff. So it's just really kind of bad practice to get into, that if you guys are intimate, he need to take a mental picture and that's it. You don't need to take it slowly through his phone. And so, but it is difficult to try to practice celibacy after you say like you've been married and all of that stuff because it's something you're used to getting. But my thing is, what's the reward in the end? And there are a lot of couples who are dating and in serious relationships and they're intimate, and it's not my place to judge any of that. But we know as a Christian, the Bible say sexual immorality is fornicating and adultery and all that stuff. It is what it is. It doesn't matter how people try to change it up. Oh, I'm an adult. We love each other. This, that, and other. If y'all had made that commitment, then you don't have no business doing it. It just it is what it is. So, and it's hard because I've been like years ago, I practiced celibacy before, and then I'll fall off the wagon and I get back on and stuff. Because for me as a Christian, I show being a Christian by following God's laws that he put into place. And of course, I'm going to not do right all the time. But when I don't do right, I feel guilty. I feel bad. And that's what allows me to say, okay, I can't live like this. Lord, please help me. Because I don't want to ever fall into just living in iniquity where I'm like, yep, Lord, I know you said this wrong, but I'm going to do it anyway. Like that's just not a good place to be. So every day I'm striving to be better and do the best I can and help whoever I can. But there's no judgment here, but I'm here. Anybody needing advice or prep, whatever it is, we can try to get through this together. But
so I went on a coffee date recently, and a man said to me, men choose a wife, but women choose who they are going to sleep with.
Wow.
And so I was like, wow. I never heard it put that way. Right. And we were having a conversation about intimacy and celibacy and things like that. But and I think that's basically what it aligns with what your post was saying, right? Because women, we think sometimes we can get in our feelings and we think this person is saying all the right stuff. He's spending time, and then we think that means we're the one and he's the one. But for a man, that's just what they do. And it's physically, our physical attributes lean into that, right? Because when we are intimate with a man, intimacy, so you are you have to come into me, right? But for a man, it's totally external. And that is, I think, why there's such a disconnect. And again, like you said, if we could help somebody understand why it's important to save yourself for that person, is because once you do that, you have a connection with this person. They leave with some part of you can never get back. And to your point, it's just I would before, when I would commit that act of sin, once I got back to myself alone, now I got to deal with that. I got to face me and the spirit within me that's convicting me about what I just did. So what is I think one thing we can't not talk about in dating, especially now with this whole cheesecake factory issue going on. So what do you think is what are some appropriate places to go for a first date?
Well, I'm not a real hard to please person, so I don't think anything's wrong with the Cheesecake Factory. That's perfectly fine. I'm fine with Ruby Tuesday, Applebee's. We can go to the coffee shop. We can go to Railroad Park and stuff, because for me, it's not about his money. I'm trying to get to know you and who you are as a person and who you are spiritually. Because if we do get to a certain point where we are being serious and somebody getting married, I need to know that you're going to be able to lead this family. And so, yes, finances are important because we need to know about stability. I need to make sure we're not going to be put outside and, the power off and all those type things. But it's not really about the money. It's about the person. And so you need to be able to get to talk to them and have these deep conversations to see really who you're dealing with. And hopefully who you're dealing with will be honest, because people lie, manipulate, for however long they can, in hopes of getting what they want. There's women too, women will know that, hey, I'm not thinking about this man, but I'm letting him spend all this money on me, and then I'm gonna go, so I think, I don't know. I'm simple at the park, walk in the park.
Oh, that's funny. I mean, and like me too, I feel the same way because I don't want, when you meet somebody, you don't know, you're just meeting. And I don't want anyone to feel they invested a lot into this meeting and now they got cheated. So my number one go-to spot is Starbucks. Let's sit down and talk over coffee. Because if you talk to people long enough, you're gonna learn who they really are. They can only through conversation, you're gonna reveal your true character. Just spend time talking.
Yep, I agree. And I think if we learn to ask the right questions, and what those questions are, I don't know right now, but we learn to ask the right questions, people will reveal themselves as well, how they think and process, whatever you're asking. So,
what are some boundaries? You around the city, you making moves, you're a business professional. Um, have you had to set any boundaries when it comes to you being a single woman, moving around in those spaces, and dating too? Like, what are some of those?
Boundaries not coming to my house. I don't want you to know where I live. Not really dating or dealing with people who I work in the same environment with. Like I don't want to cross the, and I may find the one at work, but I don't like to cross those boundaries because I really don't know, and I don't want to walk around and see you at work, or and it didn't work. Like I didn't want that to affect my place of business. But I'm trying to think. I don't know. Those are only two I have off the top of my head as far as boundaries. What types of boundaries do you set?
Definitely what you just said. Number one, you're not coming here. You can't come to my house for anything. If I'm sure if I met the one and over time that would change, but we're not, just because we're adults. One, you need to have your own place where you reside. I have my place where I reside, and again, that leads to us having to get to know each other because we're constantly meeting out places. Right. And to your point, it doesn't have to be a place where we're spending a lot of money. We can, the park, movies, walk through the museums, and so those are definitely some boundaries that I have. And some of the situations that I've been hearing women get in lately who own their own homes, as a single woman, and then they met this man, and they were in love and they got married, and he moves in, and one in particular found herself in a situation that this is her house she had for 17 years prior to her meeting this man who she ultimately married, and they got into an argument and she slapped his phone. He went and got a restraining order against her, and she had to leave her own house.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important that we talk and encourage people to set boundaries, because sometimes men and women are looking for a come up, right? And if you look like you got it together and you making the moves that'll help them transition from somebody's sofa to your bedroom, you know, that they gonna strike and strike hard. So that's why you have to have self-control in
Mhm.
dating, discipline and discernment,
Mhm.
because everything that look good is not good, and everything that sounds good is not good.
Mhm.
Um, and I am working on trying to make sure that I don't kind of judge people based on their education or not. But what I've run into is people who aren't educated. You know, the stuff be funny for a minute, and then
Mhm.
it starts to get on your nerves.
Mhm.
That conversation is not on your level. Y'all, you have different goals, aspirations, and daily your day to day. Like for example, you all those things you do in a day, right? That's a part of your life. How
Right.
do you ensure that you are dating someone that's equally yoked?
That's a tough one. Because I think that's kind of hard to find. Like, I don't think that all of that or good at two shoes or anything, but I do
Right.
like intelligent guys, and I like guys who are on the move and have drive as
Right.
well. And so I know kind of early on in our conversation what type of person they are, and then I tend to kind of just shy away from them.
Mhm.
I ain't
Mhm.
answering any more texts or calls, none of that. Like, I'm just not going to be able to devote any more time to this. But I don't want to make anybody feel bad, make them think
Right.
that they're beneath me, because that's not true. We just
Right.
have different paths, and it's different things that I want and desire that I think pairs well with me. So,
What is one thing that you would, if you look back, what is one thing you would tell your 21-year-old self
um,
about dating? I'm sorry. Yeah,
okay.
about dating.
Really talk and get to know the guy and know his intentions and wait it out. Like, just wait it out to see if he is true to his word and what he says. Because again, people say anything for a few weeks or a few months, and then after that it's something different. So just really listen, wait it out. And now I'm 40, a Christian is very important. My dad, when I talked to him a few months ago, like anytime I talked to him about, hey, what should I look for in a guy when dating or married? His first thing is always make sure he love God. He got to love God. It's a difference between going to church and,
That's right.
I'm the usher board or whatever men do at church, or a deacon or whatever. I don't know, but whatever is different between doing that and really loving God. And like I said, it's not perfection, because we're gonna sin and fall short, but it's somebody who's striving daily to be
Hmm.
better. So that's like number one, on my list.
Awesome. And that's a very good message to your 21-year-old self as well as our listening audience. So I think one more question.
Okay.
So is there anything that um, you learned after divorce that you wish you knew before you got married?
Well, yes, I think that okay, so I never lived with anybody before I got married. So when I got married, that's my first time actually living in the same household with a man. And that was a different experience, really the expectations. I thought that when we got married, we would be a team, which is, hey, you cook, sometimes I cook, you do the laundry, sometimes I do the laundry, and I help pay bills, do whatever, like that. But I think I would talk to the guy, see what are your expectations in a wife? And I
Hmm.
can say what my expectations are in a husband. And then we can really determine at that point if we're a good fit for each other. Because people want different things in life. Sometimes a man want a wife. I want a wife that stays at home and cook, do the laundry, have my meal ready. But that's not my personality. I'm not going to do well with that. So it's
Hmm.
really just sitting down and talking to him and finding out what is it that you want out of this marriage.
Hmm.
As of course, Christian principles. And then, we can go from there.
Well, that's the starting place, huh?
Right.
Well, Terry, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to sit down and talk to me. I must say that Terry has always supported me when I had a shoe store. She was one of my best customers. Sometimes she would buy the same thing in three colors just so she could just so she could say she showed me some love. So I appreciate it. I never forgot it and never forgot you and your beautiful spirit. So thank you again.
Thank you, and you're welcome. This was such a pleasure. So anytime you need me to come back, let me know. We'll talk about other things.
Yeah, we got that. Absolutely. Well, everybody have an amazing Friday. And remember, we'll see you again in 2 weeks on Freedom Friday.